There we go. Now it's recording.
Yep. Okay. So, did you got anyone who read the minutes have any issues with any of it?
Nope. Synopsis seemed fine to me.
Great. Okay. Well, in that case, I'll move to adopt them, and everybody okay with that?
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Approved. So, let me just give you a quick rundown. I circulated a bunch of stuff. I had discussions after our last meeting with Brian and with David. Uh, I have not talked to Tina directly, but I assume David, is it safe to assume you and Tina have been talking about this?
Yes. It does get discussed.
Okay. I, I kind of thought so, but I just wanted to make sure that was the case. Um, so what I'd like to do is talk about the individual things, but first kind of talk about where we are globally. I mean, I think what we're supposed to be doing is coming back to the select board simply with the recommendation of uh, what we think what this committee thinks the select board might want to do, and then ultimately, I think it's up to the select board, and the proposal would be, I think, to have a warrant at the town meeting, which is going to be held on May 16th, to be voted on by the citizens. So, I mean, basically, what we're doing, I think, is just making a recommendation. So, um,
Yes, it does have to be approved by the select board and has to be approved by the voting public. So that you're correct. That's exactly what we're doing. We're
good.
we're creating a plan, presenting it to the select board, and
The select board decides whether they want to present it to the.
whether they want to present it or not. Because yeah, I mean, they could look at it and it could get shut down at that point. I mean,
It,
that's it's a
yeah,
possibility.
exactly. Okay. So, just to bring people up to speed, after the last meeting, I went back and played with the budget a little bit, and so what I did, and what this is the first item on the the second item on the agenda is the proposed budget. Um, what I and I, Brian, thank you for your help with doing this. Uh, Brian, is what I did was I wanted to have some options, and so last time we spoke, I had just plucked 8 vehicle tickets during the peak season at off-season rates, and 8 walk-on tickets per household member, given the last census of about 600 people on the island. And Brian and I talked, and I kind of rethought things a little bit. And so there are three. The budget, as proposed, has 3 different options. It would be 5 tickets, vehicle and walk-on per household people, 10 tickets, or 15. The underlying assumptions, both Brian and I thought, if anything, we ought to be quote conservative in the estimate of what we were doing. So the underlying assumptions are somewhat arbitrary, but I think I try to make that point anyway. Um, the underlying assumptions are that half the people would take advantage of this program, and half the people would be couples on the island, which would be basically um, uh, that would be half, and then the other half would be a family of 4. Now we know this isn't true, but we're just trying to come up with some kind of rational number. And the family of 4 in a car, that would be 2 adults and 2 minors. And so what we did was we made assumptions that half those people would fully avail themselves of this opportunity as a couple, and half would fully avail themselves of this opportunity as a family of four. And we came up with the difference. If a couple would save $19.25 a trip, but that would be the cost to the town too. A family of four would save $33.25 a trip. That would also be a cost to the town. And so we assumed half and half. I think that assumption is somewhat conservative because I'm not so sure that everybody is going to use every ticket. Although if we go with 5, they probably would. If we go with 10, maybe not. And if we go with 15, probably even less so.
Yeah, probably a lot table at 15.
Right. But so anyway, we end up with a projected cost given those hypothetical assumptions. If it's 5 tickets, it would cost about $27,000 over that 4-month period of time from June through September. If it's 10, it's basically double, basically $54,000. And if it's 15, it's $81,000. My own feeling, and I think Brian agrees with me, but I just wanted to throw this out, is I think 10 makes more sense. I thought 8 was a little bit on the chintzy side over a 16-week period. Well, no, it's a 4-month period. So yeah, it's 16 weeks. 10, I think, falls within the realm of making a difference without being excessively expensive. And 15, I think, I'm trying to keep in mind that this is this would be a pilot program and limited. My feeling myself is to go with 10 and run it up the flagpole and see how we do this year. And if there's a huge demand, it would be demand, it would be what people think about the program. It would be a lot of different variables, but 10 at 50, basically $54,000, I think kind of strikes the right balance between having an impact without having a huge financial downside. So comments on that, anybody? I'm happy to listen to whatever anybody thinks about that.
No, you're correct, and this is a pilot program that we are kind of trying to get off the ground. And as you stated, these assumptions were made to try to be kind of as all-encompassing as possible. It's not really within the realm of possibility for us to know every single household's makeup and to try to estimate based on that. So, using this as kind of our guideline, and seeing kind of how this works in its first year of infancy. If we find that we need a larger budget because the implementation was greater than we expected, that's something we can seek out in the future. If we find the uptake is really not what we were expecting, well, then maybe we look to reduce that budget in the future. But it's going to be something that is going to kind of grow and evolve as we do get more of a handle on exactly how people are utilizing it. And I did actually just think of something in addition to add to the agreement. If all of the sudden we do see a major uptick in utilization, we are going to have to put an addendum in the agreement that says, tickets are available until supplies are exhausted. Because I mean, if we use up all of our available budget and there's still demand for tickets, we don't have anywhere else to get that money. So we'll basically just going to have to 86, reduce tickets at that time, should that happen to come to fruition.
That's a good idea. I hadn't thought of that, David, but we could do that. We could put that in the agreement. Well, it would be something along the lines of this is subject to the town warrant, whatever number it is, and limited. And I can put some language like that in too.
Yeah, and it would just be a short reminder, basically telling people, this is a pilot program. The funds are not unlimited, and so utilize it when you can. it is possible that supplies will sell out for the season, and that's just kind of, something that we will have to grow and expand as, as the program continues or doesn't, depending on what happens.
I'll put it in the context of this. I'll reemphasize that this is a pilot program. And okay, let me work on that language.
Yep. But I mean, other than that, no, I think I think you've done a great job putting these documents together.
And I agree, I think 10 is a good jumping off point to.
Yeah.
That
And I
was,
like 5 for the amount of the budget. I'm just worried. Yeah, I think we ought to give the selectmen, the choice of
And I mean,
number 10.
yeah, and
We have a lot of things coming up in this budget
Sure,
that,
sure. And I mean, it's all subject to approval by the voters anyways. I mean, if this comes up in a warrant and everybody goes, no, I don't want to do this, then, then it's kind of dead in
because
the
I
water
do
anyways.
want it a separate article.
Yes,
I don't
yeah.
want it lumped in.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
No, it should be.
oh no, I would like this to be considered standing on its own.
Yeah.
My only concern with 5, Janet, is in the
Not
overall
enough to make a difference.
scheme of things, I'd like it to have an impact on people.
Yeah.
And I don't think 5 trips over the whole course of the summer. I mean, along the lines of what we were talking about last time is, try to make the town a more attractive place generally to be all year long, meaning including the summertime. So, Peter, how do you feel about this?
Yeah,
In
I
terms-
think 10 is the way to go. I thought 5 was too small. It wouldn't have 5 wouldn't really have much of an effect on our budget between Maggie and I. We both go short separate times, and 10 is a minimum. And if there's a way of even giving the select board a choice of 5, 10, or 15, I think that would make sense. But otherwise, I'm quite happy with 5. Excuse me. I'm quite happy with 10 trips.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Peter, the options for 5, 10, and 15, those are in this budget document as well. So when this is presented to the select board, those options will be provided.
No, thank you. I understand.
Excellent.
Right. So, Janet, do you want me to put you down as for 5?
Yeah, I'll take 5. I'll buy them all at one time and I'll be
Okay.
done.
Well, as we sit here, so the count is 4 for 10 and 1 for 5. And if Gabe comes on, we'll find out what he thinks. But
I'm just worried about how this is gonna play out in the town office. This is my concern. It's a new, as you say, it's a pilot program, but I don't relish.
I don't think the difference between 5 or 10.
It'll be less tickets to sell.
Well, but in the grand scheme of things, as far as the town office is concerned and the sales aspect of it, whether we sell 5 round trips or we sell 10 round trips, the transaction is still going to be the same one way or the other.
And this first year, assuming that this gets past all the hoops it's gonna have to go through. The first year,
It's going to be a little chaotic.
Peter and I kind of figure out how to implement it all the best way for us. It's gonna be a learning.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little chaotic, regardless, because it is new. We're figuring it out. We don't really have robust systems to kind of track these things, so it's all going to be tracked manually, and there are going to be some growing
That's what
pains with it.
worries me.
yeah, I get it. Okay. Well, pending some input from Gabe, I'll put down 4 for 10 and 1 for 5. But people like the concept. And what we'll do, I'll leave the budget with 5, 10, and 15, so that the select board can make that decision. We'll just defer. But other than that, does anyone have any? I'm a little up, on the fence regarding the underlying assumptions, but I think they make sense given the circumstances and given what we know. So, does anyone have any huge quarrel with how we got to where we got? Okay, good. Well, thank you. in regard, the next, so send me approval. But let's all, I'll go through one by one when we get to the end of this. Let's talk about the agreement next. If, what I did was I tried to simplify things. When we first spoke, the whole idea was to, pass out cards and stuff like that. And it occurred to me after our meeting that having a little card that says you're a resident of Islesboro is really not necessary to have in your wallet. So what I tried to do is put together an agreement that would be gone over with the individual head of the household and signed and kept in the town office, along with another document, which would be a record. And I completely defer to Brian and David and Tina on this, but it would basically be some kind of simple document that says so and so bought X amount of vehicle tickets and walk-on tickets on this date. So you could just, one of the nice things about having 10 as kind of a common denominator is it's kind of easy to keep track of 10. If you bought 7, you know that you got 3 left. you don't need to be a genius to figure that stuff out. So the agreement basically assumes that there will be a head of the household that comes in to sign the agreement. And the head of the household will basically affirm that that person is a resident of Islesboro, that Islesboro is their sole residence, and they don't claim residence anywhere else. And then that head of the household would also list the other members of the household that reside with the head of the household, and whether or not they're an adult or a minor, because we have to differentiate for those tickets. We got to differentiate for that. And we say, I use 10 because I just put the number out again, but that head of the household may purchase up to 10 peak season vehicle tickets and up to 10 peak season walk-on tickets for other members of the residence household at the off-season rate. And then I kind of tried to just simplify this, but fill me in on what I missed. That is, you got to buy the tickets at the town office during regular business hours prior to the day of use. So no one comes running in and says, I got to make the 3:30 boat. And it acknowledges that the tickets may not be available just because we might run out. And I'll tack something in about they may not be available not only because of that, but because we may go through the budget. Sales are limited to cash, check, and credit cards, and the credit card is a 2.5%. And I apologize, Brian, I was stuck between 2.5 and 3. I was fixated on 3 for some reason.
No worries.
Handling fee. All sales are final, so nobody comes running in and says, I want a refund, which I doubt would happen anyway. The resident agrees not to give these things away to Cousin Joe to come to the 4th of July parade. They agree that if there are any material changes of circumstance, that if their residency status changes or anything, they'll let us know. That's about it. So what other traps for the unwary might we have?
I have a question. Are these tickets going to look any different from the normal peak season tickets?
No,
They
because
are
we're
going to be just standard peak season tickets.
yeah,
Okay.
because we're just going to go over to the ferry office and buy them.
Yeah.
Nothing stands out to me other than what you and I have already discussed. Some language about things are available until the supplies are exhausted, and making sure that people understand that they need to come during normal business hours, which actually looks like you did include that in here. So that was
Yep.
really my major feedback.
Okay. Um,
Just knew someone was going to come in on the weekend and be like, why can't I get them today?
yeah, no, exactly. I think I covered most of it. Is the bolding okay? Do you want, I bolded it for discussion purposes, but you want me to just leave that in for the, keep in
Yeah.
mind, what
Yeah.
we're gonna do is send this to this stuff to the select board, so, I think it makes sense to just leave it in for now.
Yes, actually, and I think the bolding highlights the kind of the major important points too. Just helps them stand out a little bit more. So if somebody's doing a quick scan of this document, boom, 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 those are the major points. So I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay, okay,
Uh,
great. Yep.
John, when are you bringing this to the select board?
Well, what I'm hoping to do time-wise, once we get to the end of the discussion about the particular documents, is decide what documents we want to send to the select board. And if we can get a vote in favor of everything and how to do it, I'll send them out, next week.
Yeah, the next meeting is March 11th. We
Okay,
start the budget next Wednesday on the 4th, but this probably need to go to a regular meeting,
Yeah.
not this budget.
gotcha. Okay, that's
Well,
good to know, Janet. Thank you. I'm
With
glad we're
budget.
having the meeting. I'm glad we're having the meeting today. Then I didn't realize the budget work was beginning on March
I don't
4th.
know where we're gonna put it.
Probably general government.
Maybe. I was thinking on the emergency, like emergency ferry runs or maybe. we're
Oh
gonna
yeah, I mean,
create a new one.
we could just increase the emergency ferry run budget, assuming that's what we want to do. But yeah, okay, so we've got some options.
You know,
Okay. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time on this after our last meeting, and I'm pretty happy about where the documentation, the proposed documentation is right now. So I don't mind sending it to the select board for their consideration.
Yep.
And I'll try to be at the next meeting on the 11th. Okay, so let me see. The next thing is the purchase record. That is not particularly substantive. I just wanted to help at least put my 2 cents worth in to Brian and David and Tina. My idea is that you'll have the residence agreement and either have a front and a back page with the record of purchases on the back page of it, or just have 2 different pages that are stapled together and kept in a file alphabetically or something. But
printing the purchase record on the back of the agreement is probably going to be the easiest thing for tracking purposes. As well, if we're maintaining these documents in like a red rope or a file or something, then we can easily arrange it also by last name alphabetical, and then we can easily go back and find somebody.
I kind of envision this being kind of the same as the way we do the transfer station. Just the people that utilize it have a file set up alphabetically by their name, and then a folder for everybody with their agreement and purchase record.
Be more or less the same thing. Yeah. Pretty much.
yeah, okay, great. I was just trying to keep it as simple as possible, but you guys are the ones that are in the trenches here.
We'll figure that part, but yeah, I think I've got an idea for how it'll work, and I think my idea is the same as Dave's, that or similar, that we'll be able to make it work with minimal extra effort.
Excellent. Okay. So the next thing would be the my this is all my stuff, is the general overview of the proposal. and again, it's a draft, but what I tried to do is just kind of, the idea would be, it's just a fact sheet that could be distributed when people agree with the resident agreement. It can be distributed prior to the town meeting. And I tried to be neutral, even though I'm obviously in favor of this. But the other thing I tried to do was make a point after our last meeting is that make a few points. One is we're limiting this to island residents, and I put on the second page in bold, NB status as a taxpayer is a neutral factor and does not automatically confer residency status. I hope that's sufficient, but what do you get? Any input on that?
I just know a few people that are already ready to argue that particular line, but yeah, you know, we're gonna have that regardless.
Yeah. I have some guidelines that we can talk about too, and I don't know. I don't know if that. It's really tough. Residency is not. It can be very easy for. I mean, everyone at this meeting. It's not hard, but you know, the tough ones are going to be the people that argue I'm a taxpayer. And residency has different meanings depending upon what you're doing. And, you know, the IRS has guidelines. You know, it's classic. You know, everyone moves to Florida because they don't have any taxes down there. And I get that. But and a lot of residency, but a lot of times residency is defined by the intention of the individual to reside in a particular town. And inevitably, someone, you know, we're going to have a family that I hope a family with kids who moves in and says, "I want to be a resident of the town of Islesboro," and that's okay. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. So that's why I said it's not always easy to determine it, but you know, if you have the basic guidelines are pretty simple. I mean, if you're a registered voter, if you're got a Maine license that says Islesboro, you know, that's pretty good indicia of residency. If you've got a Florida license that says you live in Boca Raton, that's a pretty good evidence that Islesboro is not your residence. So anyway, that was that, and then I kind of just tried to give an overview of what the agreement says, and importantly, at least for the town meeting purposes, some notion of what this would cost. And Brian, you can speak to that a little bit, because I tried to say it's impossible to say right now exactly what it will cost, but I can. This might be a good place as well, Brian, to put in that, you know, if the town warrant, if the town meeting passes this warrant, that we are going to limit the budget to what is being requested or something like that.
Yeah. So if we decide on 10 and we decide that we need to, you know, budget for the 54, whatever that figure was, then yeah, we could put something in there that basically says that, you know, this is our budget. When those funds are exhausted, you know, this program will be done for the year. The inclusion there of $8 per 100,000 of property tax valuation. That was an estimate based on last year's numbers. That's about as close as we can get with an estimate, but it's a pretty good baseline for what this will actually cost. And rather than throwing out mill rate numbers and things like that most people don't understand, it's, you know, $8 per 100,000 in valuation, easy. It's very easy for people to figure out how this will impact them directly, which I think it's great to include it like this.
$8. Mill rate was 12 something.
No.
Not
That's what this will increase it by.
Oh,
So it'll, in addition to what your taxes already are, this will be an addition of $8 per $100,000 in valuation. So
Yeah,
a three,
the idea is if
$24
I'm
a
sitting,
year,
yeah,
extra
so if I'm,
taxes just to pay for this.
right, so if I'm sitting on a tax evaluation of $400,000, it's gonna cost $32.
Yeah. Yeah,
Approximately.
in addition to the taxes currently paid, like this number is the increase that this particular proposal will cost people on top of everything else.
I can make that a little more self-evident, Brian, if folks want me to. I can say the projected cost of this program would add approximate up to your current property tax
Yeah, I
bill.
think that's a good proposal. Just slightly changing the language of this last sentence here, just to better clarify that this is, $8 per 100,000 in addition to whatever your current taxes are and whatever proposals or increases are approved. That this measure itself will cost an
Right.
additional $8 per 100,000 valuation.
And I could actually just put an example in too. If your valuation is 400,000, $32. If it's 500,000, $40. That example. Okay, let me do that. I think that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So I will do that. And other than that, you think the explanation is satisfactory for folks? Just kind of the general.
Yeah, I mean, I think it does a good job of stating why we're doing it, what issues it's trying to address, some of the hurdles that we have in trying to overcome it. Yeah, I mean, I think the document is great. It's very informative. It's very thorough. And I really think it answers pretty much any question that most people are going to have.
Okay. So I'll make some I'll tweak the cost analysis so that there's some examples and circulate it. And the last thing, I'm not sure this is the last thing I have on the agenda for discussion is residency guidelines, which I bolded everything on that. I'm not sure this is necessary, but it might be helpful.
I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think delineating what our criteria is definitely important because, somebody's going to push back and say, well, how do you determine this? Here's how we determine it right here. I mean, it's baked into, it's baked into this whole proposal.
and there's always gonna be someone looking for a loophole.
Yeah, there's always going to be somebody looking for a loophole. And we could say, well, here's the criteria. Here is not the criteria. I mean, you either meet it or you don't.
Okay. The one thing I might want I let me just send all of this to the select board, and then we can have a discussion at the select board level about it. I'm a lawyer, or I was a lawyer, so part of it, I know there's going to be squeaky wheels, and there's the opportunity to be heard, and there's the opportunity to be told no.
Sure.
But my concern is who or what is going to say no. But anyway,
Oh, yeah, call up Brian.
I got no problem saying no. No is a complete sentence.
yeah. Well, having run Casco Bay youth hockey for a few years, I know how to say no too.
Not only no, but you're in the penalty box for 2 minutes. Yeah.
Oh golly. Okay. So let's talk about. I'd like to get this to the select board. So if the budget discussions are right around the corner, I think probably the sooner the better. So may I suggest that I make the tweaks to, let's go over this. I want to make sure I don't miss anything. The first thing was the proposed budget. I think send it as is with an explanatory note that the majority of the committee feels 10 is appropriate, but one member of the committee feels like 5 would be better. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And but the assumptions, although we know that they're not completely accurate, we feel that they are appropriate and, if anything, conservative. Does that sound all right?
At least a good baseline.
Yeah, good. I mean, we have to start somewhere, and I think these assumptions are a good solid baseline to start with.
Okay, great. The agreement I will tweak to the point that we might run out of money, because it's going to be limited by whatever the budget is decided upon at the town meeting, if it's anything. And I'll tweak the overview as we discussed.
If we have anything.
How about?
Come first serve.
I didn't catch that, David. Say that again.
Running out of
Yeah.
ticket. I mean, I think that's, well, we're more or less saying that same thing. We're just kind of saying it on the opposite end, saying, you know, we may run out if the funding for this is exhausted. I think we're more or less saying that already, or at least it's implied that, you know, if you come in late August, yeah, we might, you know, or I'm sorry, not late August, it's October.
September.
Yeah, if you come in late September, we may not have anything left, you know, but yeah, I think that's implied.
John,
Yes.
could you tweak this general overview to 2 pages? I envision handing that out like on a back-to-back sheet instead of 3 pages.
Yep.
I'm just looking for less paper,
Just
Sure.
to make the font smaller.
you know, widen up those margins and everything. And we're gonna, on the back of this,
Yeah, well,
they're.
Kind of the tracking spreadsheet, yeah.
if this all comes through and we actually start using this application, the application itself on the back will have.
Yeah, and I mean, we could put grid lines on it
Yeah.
and stuff like
Yeah.
that, just to make that, you know, easier to write in. That's not a problem.
Well, okay, let me make those changes, and probably the easiest thing to do, because scheduling these meetings is difficult for everyone, particularly Gabe, who's still not here. but what? Yeah,
Yeah, he's moving a boat right now.
of course he is. You know, it's February. Why not move a boat?
Yeah.
No, that I figured that's fine. I mean, I it's hard for him, but we'll tell you what. I'll talk to him following this meeting. I will make the changes and let me circulate it to everyone who's here on the committee, and give me a yay or a nay or twist. You know, tell me what to do, and then I'll prepare a memo to the select board. Does that meet with everyone's approval?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
and John, could you break out on your memo these 4 or 5 different forms? I mean, like whatever one you think is first, if it's residency, if it's the agreement, just kind of list them out.
Yeah,
So
I'll
they-
do the same thing I did in preparation for this meeting, Janet.
Okay,
I think what I'll do is probably start with the budget, because 5, 10, or 15 makes a big difference. And then I'll go to the resident agreement. Well, let me just see here. Yeah, I'll just do, let me just follow the format that I did for this meeting. But I'll do a explanatory memo to the select board generally, so they know what they're getting. Cool. So I'll follow up with an email with the amended documents that we've discussed, and if you guys could get back to me and just say I'm okay with this, then I'll just reference that in the memo to the select board.
John, I want to thank you for taking the lead on this. You've done a great job in putting these documents together, being very communicative, moving this thing forward. You've done a great job. So I wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, John.
Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on this after our first meeting, but I really think this is pretty important. I think it could make like I said during the first meeting, this is not a panacea, but I think particularly for families with kids, this could have a fairly important impact. So,
I mean, yeah, if a family with kids can save a couple $100 in ferry tickets over the course of the summer, I mean, that's money that goes right back into feeding those kids. So, it's none of this is a bad thing.
Right. Great. Okay, I'll get to work on it. Let me think. I got some pretty busy stuff this coming week, but I'll try to get something out quickly because if the budget discussions are coming right up, this would be good to be part of.
Yeah. First budget meeting is next week on the 4th. The next select board meeting is the week after on the 11th.
Okay, well, this shouldn't take too long. So you might even see an email from me either today or over the weekend.
Sounds good, but yeah, we got plenty of time before the next select board meeting. So yeah, good.
Okay, so I don't think we need a formal motion, but adjourn at 9:16.
Second. Approved.
Thanks,
All right.
John. Go back
Well,
there and enjoy yourself.
Thanks for all your input, everyone. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Thanks,
Okay.
John.
Have a good weekend.
See, how do I stop that?